I had some leftover jjampong broth from last night that was so good, so I wanted to add some noodles to it to make a quick meal. Unfortunately, I ended up making what can only be described as noodle sludge. You know Grammar from Pokemon? Yeah, I basically created him but in orange form. Here's what happened. So I wanted to keep it simple and only use one pot and one pan. My plan was to heat up the broth in the pot and cook dumplings in the pan. Ideally, I would have used a separate pot to boil the noodles, but I really didn't want to end up using 3 pans just for a quick reheating meal. So I decided to be, lazy and dump the noodles straight into the broth to cook. The problem, these were like quote-unquote fresh noodles that were coated in flour, and when you add that to the broth, it soaks everything up and turns it into a thick sauce. Not only did I lose the broth, but the noodles didn't even cook all the way through. On the bright side, I still had my dumplings, which turned out to be pretty decent. But yeah, lesson learned, don't be too lazy. My mom recently came back from Korea and brought back a ton of ramen. I'll be reviewing my ramen stash in future videos, so stay tuned for that. But for today, I have some Korean pastries to show you. Growing up, these sausage pastries from Paris Baguette were a big part of my childhood. Now, there are a lot more Paris Baguette locations in the States, but the sausage pastries here never taste the same as the ones in Korea. The one I have in front of me is a sausage pastry on a roll with cheese, pickled onions, and ketchup. Honestly, after spending hours in my mom's bag on the flight back, they don't look amazing, but tasting it, it really hit the spot. The sausage and cheese give it a nice salty kick, and the pickled onions add a bit of acidity. Finally, the sweetness of the ketchup really ties everything together, a perfect balm of flavors. It's not just the food, but really just a little slice of nostalgia. So I was walking through Costco and I saw this exclusive flavor of Pringles. It is as American as it gets, loaded hot dog. I was like, I don't even like Pringles, but I was like, why not? I haven't seen Pringles do anything new in a while, and probably haven't had Pringles in pretty much forever. When you open it, the first thing you smell is pickle brine. Even though there's no pickle on the hot dog image on the container, it does have a salty, pickly scent when you open it. Tasting it, it was pretty salty. I don't even think it tasted like a pickle, it was just pure salt. I don't really taste the sausage part as well, but yeah. It was just a heavily seasoned chip that kind of tastes like a pickle in some ways. Overall, probably won't buy it again, but it is edible. One of my favorite things to eat the next day is leftover tteokbokki with some ramen, which is more commonly known as rapbokki since, it's ramen plus tteokbokki combined into one word. Anyways, this dish the next day has the sauce all condensed up into one intense spicy flavor bomb that is perfect as the sauce for the ramen I'm going to put into it. On top of that, usually you have a few rice cakes and fish cakes left over, so it essentially is an entire dish. I usually like to add some hard-boiled eggs into it so it's not completely void of nutrients. But yeah, overall, this is arguably better as a leftover with the sauce being so condensed than it being brand new. One of my favorite products from Costco is the Kling breaded chicken breast chunks. These are low-key better than anything Tyson or Purdue sells because they actually taste like real chicken breast and not some weird chicken paste. You can eat them with barbecue sauce as is, but one way to take them up a notch is to toss them in some spaghetti sauce. I had some leftover spaghetti from last night, and adding these chunks made it taste like, little chicken parmesan balls, super flavorful and satisfying. What makes them even better is that they're air fryer friendly, so there's almost no cooking involved. Just toss them in, heat them up, and you're good to go. Quick, easy, and delicious, these are definitely a staple for me. If you haven't tried them, I highly recommend giving them a shot. Here's my honest take on Shinaman Red. I really want to like it, but it's just too salty and spicy for me, and this is coming from someone who enjoys eating product ramen. There's something about, the intensity of the broth that feels overwhelming. It's not bad, but the balance is a bit off. It's like everything's cranked up too high at once. Fortunately, I did find a way to make this ramen work for me, and that's by pairing it with rice. In this video, I've got rice in the form of kimbap, but the plain rice works just as well. The rice really helps balance out the saltiness and the spiciness, creating a more enjoyable bite overall. That said, kimbap might actually be the perfect match. Dipping a piece of kimbap into the soup to slightly warm up the rice really gives it the amazing burst of flavor. Just a tip, be careful not to break your kimbap while dipping. It can get messy, or just use a spoon to make things easier. But yeah, if you're finding Shinaman Red too intense, pairing it with some kind of rice can really tone it down and let you enjoy it even. So what would you do? Let's say you are prepping some delicious instant ramen for lunch. The one in front of me is arguably one of the best with, fresh noodles and a topping packet filled up to the brim with dried seaweed flakes, fried tofu, and green onions. But let's say while taking out the first batch of hot water, the hot water used to cook the fresh noodles, which is coated in that oil, you just rinse it and suddenly your noodles drop into the sink. Do you throw it away or do you eat it? Honestly, I am eating it, which I did here. Granted, it was a sink that we use at home and we did give it a good rinse, but let's say you're in a hotel bathroom. Would you still eat it? I don't know, honestly. But yeah, since I am still alive, looks like I made the right choice of eating this delicious bowl of udon. What would you guys do? One of my favorite meals is a jjajangmyeon with some mandu or dumplings. The mandu I have here are actually homemade and they turned out really good. The filling is usually a mix of ground beef and pork, tofu, green onions, and Korean glass noodles. But for this batch we were low on ground meat, so we used a lot more tofu, and funny enough, it still tasted great. It's pretty cool since tofu is probably healthier than red meat. I might even experiment to see how much tofu I can use before it starts tasting off. For this meal, you just fry up some mandu, cook the jjajangmyeon, and fry an egg. Just make sure it's nice and runny. Also, adding a bit of water back into jjajangmyeon sauce once you drain the noodles helps make it a little looser, which is way better than letting it dry out completely. A lot of instant jjajangmyeon can be too thick if you drain all the water, but yeah. Essentially this combo is pretty solid and it makes the perfect lunch. You guys should definitely try it out. In this video, I'll show you a great way to enjoy leftover kimbap. While room temperature kimbap is fine, refrigerated kimbap can become cold and unappetizing. You could microwave it, but that makes the seaweed soggy and ruins the texture. Instead, try making kimbap egg fritters. So you simply crack a couple of eggs, whisk them, and dip your kimbap into the mixture. Then pan fry it until golden brown. This method not only reheats the kimbap effectively, but also keeps the texture intact with a delicious egg coating. The only tricky part is flipping the kimbap without breaking it. I tried using both chopsticks and a spatula, but they didn't work well. One dish that always tastes better the next day is tteokbokki. Whether you bought it from the store or made it at home, reheating tteokbokki lets the sauce reduce and intensify in flavor. It becomes spicier, sweeter, and richer, all just by turning up the heat. The only downside is that sometimes the rice cakes get a little too soft, but honestly that's a small sacrifice for the upgraded flavor. To make my leftover tteokbokki even better, I like adding noodles. Having these Maruchan packets around is super useful since they're cheaper than your standard Korean ramen noodles, but still do the job. Another great trick is reheating leftover dumplings or other fried foods in the air fryer. Sometimes they even get crispier than they were the day before, but yeah, there's really nothing to hate about tteokbokki leftovers. They might just be better than the first batch.